So, uh,
So
now we come to the letters. What else, Mrs.
we,
Umayma?
before completing with this stage, I say that we follow the same procedures with everything for teaching pupils to trace letters.
Yes.
We follow the same procedure. Then ask pupil to trace the lines, as Mr. Majid said, the L's and the
Place the
S,
shapes.
the S, yes, in the same way. Then explain that they must take care to keep within the middle 2 lines. The teacher may draw on the board the 2 lines, and he insists on writing, following this of the grid,
Of course,
the 2
first
lines of the
the
grid,
teacher should, let's say, show them how to
show
trace
them
the
how to
letters
trace the letters.
himself.
Yes.
First, he can do.
He's going to draw the
himself.
lines on the
Yes.
board,
On the board.
and shows them how they are going to put exactly the parts of the letters in the
Good,
chart.
good, good.
Then he asks them to write in their activity books.
Yes.
And while that, he's going to give hands. He needs to keep over the pupils,
Yes.
going around the classroom,
Yes.
having a look at every individual, giving help when needing, telling them, teaching them how to write these 2 letters.
Good.
Yeah, that's it. And sometimes encouraging students to come into
It's a good idea
in front of their
to make them not
friends,
to feel shy, to
Yes.
write on the board.
to write on the
Yes,
board,
yes,
to do the
yes.
activity, and to encourage them and follow the others while they are doing this on their activity books.
Good.
If he has time, he can ask them to color the pages. If he doesn't have time, he can give it as homework to
Good.
color it
To color it at home.
at home.
Yes.
Good. And he can use the pictures themselves,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
As we said.
Yes.
I'd like to ask you something else. This is everything about, let's say, activities of Lesson 1. Let's say that we have, in Lesson 1, I think we have 3 activities or 4. I don't remember, but maybe, let's say that we have 3 activities, 4 exercises, okay? We have 4 exercises. Is it good to do all the exercises in the classroom, Mrs. Umayma?
Well, I think that not all the exercises in the classroom, because there is not enough time to do everything. He may left something for as a homework, and as much as they can do in the classroom,
Good.
he follows them.
What can you
According
tell us,
to
Mrs.
For
students.
me,
Umayma?
for me, if I, as a teacher, if I have time to let the
Related to time.
pupils do everything in the classroom, it's better for me as a teacher not to give them a burden to do in their houses. And actually, a lot of schools nowadays keep the final hour for the pupils as homework time.
Yes.
So we have work time and homework time to do the homework with the supervision of the teacher themselves, with the pupils to do their homework in the school, not to take it to the house. Because if every teacher, every subject is going to give kind of homework, so they will keep the time at work for doing the homework, no time for going out, no time for entertainment. But if we don't have enough time in the school to give the all exercises, it's no problem to give them 1 or 2 exercises as homework to be done at home.
Okay.
Yes, not everything.
As you know, dear colleagues, most of the students, or a good number of the students, depend on, when doing exercises, depend on the help of their teacher in the
course.
classroom. Maybe they are more motivated when they are with their teacher in the classroom, but if they are at home and you ask them to do something at home, maybe they will feel lost sometimes and they don't know how to do the exercise alone without the help of their teacher. So I think it's a good strategy, as you said. If I have time, it's okay. Why? Because some families or some parents, let's say that, don't have, let's say, the needed experience, especially when we talk about a foreign language, English or French. They don't have the needed experience. Maybe many of them don't speak English and don't know anything about the language, so they are not able to help their
It
kids
would be
at
a
home.
burden on the parents.
And as you know, young learners need help. Even at home, they need help most of the time, not only at school. So Um, it's a good strategy to do the exercises, I think, at school, but I prefer sometimes to leave, let's say,
Something.
one or two exercises or to design something which is different, a project, let's say that, a game, something, a job. And I ask my students to do it at home. Why? Because I am a teacher and I'm, let's say, teaching them values. I'm trying to plant some values in their characters. I should, as a teacher, let's say, make my students able to depend on themselves. We have something which is called responsibility.
Yes.
So, and to depend on yourself, to do something alone. So you are building here, as we said, a character, right?
Yes.
Am I right? So I should leave something to do, to be done at home. It's my opinion. A project, something I design, something I choose myself as a teacher, some exercises, one or two, at least, to be done at home. I prefer to do this. Maybe I can choose maybe one exercise or two else to do it, to do them later on, maybe after 1 week from now. Why? As I can use them as a
This is
feedback.
progress check.
Exactly,
Progress
exactly.
check.
Yes. So it's a good strategy also to do so in the classroom. Why not?
And it can be revision as well.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know whether you agree with me or
Yeah,
not.
we agree.
Yes, I
totally.
agree, of course.
It's my own
Yes.
opinion,
In
my
the
own
end,
point
the
of view.
teacher is the one who can decide what he needs to do with his pupils.
Yes.
Something may work with some individuals, something may not work with others. So every teacher can use his own way. This is what we call about creativity. And we are judging the teachers now. We are talking about a field called creativity of the teacher. Every teacher needs to be creative, to know what these pupils need to know and the way he is going to teach his pupils.
Yes.
So we cannot apply abstract standards on all pupils all over the world.
Exactly.
So we can, be creative,
But
and to change our techniques.
techniques and
Yes.
strategies. Also, there's something else, dear colleagues. We are not learning English as students only at school, or we don't practice, let's say,
Yes.
the language only at school. We should practice the language
Outside.
So we should practice the language in the street, at home,
With friends.
everywhere. So if we practice only the language in the classroom, maybe some of the students will feel shy, or let's say unable to practice the language outside if I don't ask them to do so, if I don't ask them or train them to do so as a teacher. So I should ask them to do something outside. Not everything
Yes.
is done in the classroom.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is what I mean.
Yes.
So, and we talked, as you know, about homework when we talked about lesson planning
Yes.
and the importance of homework, classroom management, and the importance of homework,
Yes.
what to do in the classroom and what to do outside the classroom. I think we mentioned all these things before. So now I think we have finished everything about lesson 1.
Yes.
Now we can talk about techniques and strategies followed, dear colleagues. Of course, as you said, you talked about using different techniques, different strategies. We also used model as the teacher as a model,
model.
a student as a model, right? Individual work, pair work, group work, and we should not mention, we should not forget
Forget the
timing.
timing.
is very
Timing is very important.
teacher
And the
needs
tools
to
used.
And the
distribute.
tools.
We can use audio tools and visual tools. Of
Yes.
course, when we talk about audio, we use the recorder. When we
So
talk
what-
about visual, we use the cards,
Yes.
wall charts, maybe different pictures. The student's book or the pupil's book itself is a visual aid, and the activity book itself is a visual aid. We can
Actually,
use
the main
some
resource
pictures.
is the book itself.
Yes, yes,
It
yes.
has everything.
Good.
And
Yeah.
extra things, he can use the flashcards, pictures, and
Okay.
so on.
As usual, Mr. Majid, I'd like to ask you about the aims of Listen To, please.
Good. Now here again we have to teach the students WH questions and yes/no questions and the answers.
Good.
The aims for the teacher is to teach WH questions and yes/no questions. For the students will be able to ask yes/no questions and to answer yes/no questions and to ask WH questions and yes/no questions.
Good. Good.
So here the teacher revises. He can say, how are you? Where are you going to go? Where are you now in the school? We are in the classroom. So he mentions many questions, WH questions, showing them that these are questions, explaining the meaning, then giving the answer, asking them to give the answers, and he uses yes/no questions and giving the answers of yes/no questions
Good.
so that they repeat it. So the aim here for lesson 2 is to revise yes/no questions.
Types of questions.
Asking,
WH
is
questions
it
and yes/no
a-
questions.
For example, he can hold a bag, saying, is it a bag? Yes, it is. Is it a ruler? No,
Good.
it isn't. He can revise it. Then he can say, what is this, holding a bag? And he can say, it is a bag.
Good.
And he shows the students that when it's yes/no questions, he starts with yes and
Yes.
no
Yes.
by repeating the answer.
Good.
And when he answers W question, he doesn't mention yes or
Good.
no.
So these are the aims
Yeah, these
of
are
listen
the,
to. And to trace and copy, of course, letters. Don't
yeah,
don't forget
of course, because
the two letters
the
L
two
and H.
letters L and H, they are one of the objectives of the lesson, to teach them these two letters and to know how to write them by tracing them in the activity book, and by asking them, as Ms. Mimi said, to come to the board and to write them on the board after they have learned how to write them by copying them. And the teacher can write them on the board and ask the pupils to copy the two letters on the board.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we have structures, we have a revision, let's say, of types of questions, yes, no questions, and WH questions. Of course, we should notice here as teachers, all teachers should notice that how our curriculum is based on, let's say that. First, it's just like a building. It's just like a building.
Yes.
First, we have vocabulary. We are sure now that our students have the new vocabulary. They have mastered the new vocabulary. They know how to use them. Now, we can, let's say, ask them to ask for information or to give information. Of course, they are able now to ask because they know the vocabulary. When we say, what is this? And he will respond, it's a bag. We are sure that he knows the meaning of this thing. He knows that it's a bag, and we know that he will answer our
Yes.
question. Of course, we don't ask students something they don't know.
Here we can divide the pupils into pairs
Yes.
and model the question and the answer. Then we ask them as pairs to practice for 2 minutes, for example, holding something, a ruler, a bag, a book, and to say, what is this?
Okay.
The other pupil answers
Thank you.
for 2 or 3 minutes as practicing pair work.
Okay. I think we have only, Mrs. Umayma, 6 minutes, and we have to cover let's say, all the steps of listen to. So we have talked about structures, we have
Yes.
talked about aims. What else, Mrs.
We have the
Umayma?
lesson plan, speaking about function, as Mr. Majid said, ask and answering questions. We
Good.
have topic body. We have the vocabularies. We mentioned ear, eye, mouth, nose, head, arm, foot, leg, and hand. And as for writing, we have the tracing and copying letters
Yes.
L and H.
Good.
And we have many resources. We said the pupil's book, page
Page
36, exercise 2, play. We have object flashcards, 21, 24, 31, and 35.
Good.
We have body wall chart and activity book, page 36, exercise 2.
Good.
Copy exercise 3, and which is finish the picture. They
Good.
have
To
picture to
color it.
finish, yes, to
Here we-
color it.
Good.
And then we have the revision, right, Mr. Majid?
Yes.
Good.
We
Okay.
can revise all the body parts, and this can be final evaluation as
Yes.
well. When we revise all the body parts the pupils have learned until now, using the flashcards, using the book, asking them to touch or show me what
Good.
I'm asking
Good.
about, and I can raise my hand, say, what is this, or touch my, so this is final evaluation to revise all the body parts we have taken. And we can use the chart. We have numbers on the parts of the body.
As we can see now.
Yes.
It's
we can ask the pupils, what is number 3?
thank
Yes.
you.
The
Yes.
pupils as choral can answer, and I can name individuals to answer, saying what is number 5, what is number 6, and
Good.
the students respond.
Good.
They can work in pair when they come into the board. The teacher encourages them to, one student or one pupil asks, the other answers him. We encourage them to communicate this way.
Here, actually, first we have asked the pupils to open their pupils book, page 36, and we tell them that Bill and Jill drew this picture.
Yes.
Then we tell them that these parts of the body, Bill and Jill put numbers for these parts, and then we ask them about the numbers. Pupils, individually or in choral, are going to tell us the names of the parts of the body.
Good. 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 So, what about? We can choose many numbers, and we
Yes,
can
for
follow
example-
the same strategy, Mr. Majid. What can you tell us?
Yes, we tell the
Mrs.
class to
Munira?
open their activity books then at page 36 and explain to them the final stage, which is the evaluation, when you explain to them that they must write their letters, keeping them inside the middle 2 lines of the grades, and taking care to write as neatly as possible.
Good.
They should say the sound of the letter as they write it. Work around monitoring pupils' work and giving praise for effort, accuracy, and neatness. Encouraging, yes, the teacher encourages.
This is the
a
role
lot.
of the teacher.
This
in
is
the
the role
classroom.
of the teacher.
The
While
pupil,
they
as
write.
we said, is the center of the teaching process, not the teacher.
Yes.
So the teacher here is monitoring everything. He is trying to help,
Yes,
let's say.
guiding.
He's trying, guiding, and let's say correcting, helping some pupils in the classroom. Now, what else can the teacher design to teach his pupils the parts of the body? Simply, dear colleagues, he can use cards, as you
Yes.
said, some pictures, and he can, and other cards with names, and he can ask the pupils to match maybe each card or each picture with the name, right? This is one thing. He can design some games, as we said, extra activities, as we said. The song itself,
The song.
he can use some spaces or some words. Let's say he can bring a chart or a big one with the song, right? And with the spaces. Let's say this song has spaces and cards outside, and they can choose the suitable one to fill in the spaces. He can ask each group, for example, a game. He can make it a game and ask each group to complete the song. It's a good strategy also.
Yes.
So the final evaluation now, the teacher needs to make sure that all the individuals know the parts of the body and know how to trace the letters L and H.
Well,
Yes.
dear colleagues, that's everything for today. We tried, as you can see, that to focus on some important parts. Of course, the English teacher or the teacher in the classroom is free to choose the suitable activities for his students, because, as we said, he knows well the level of his students. But we tried to highlight some important points, how to give a lesson for grade 1. Dear colleagues, at the end of my seminar for today, let me thank my colleagues in the studio, Mrs. Umayma Sharba and Mr. Abdul Majid Orli, for
thank you very
participating
much.
with me. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you. I promise you to meet again. Till we meet, we wish you all the best and goodbye. Thank you.
Goodbye.